Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Sportscaster and Son, where sports bridges the gap between the generations. I'm your co-host, Peggy Dionne from ESPN Chicago, where I co-host the Bears post-game shows with Yurko. After every Bears game, you can check us out on ESPN 1000 and the ESPN Chicago app. I also host Peggy and Dionne on Saturdays. And this is my co-host, my son, Jason Kinander, now a working sportscaster.
Working sportscaster here at 13 News in Topeka, Kansas, and based out of Manhattan, covering K-State sports and news up in the Manhattan, Kansas area. Loving it up here in Northeast Kansas, but feeling a little left out with training camp starting. Not quite football season yet for the college game, but even though the season kicks off earlier, which is really weird to me. How is NFL training camp back right now? And the college football season starts a couple weeks earlier, and those guys aren't practicing yet. I don't get it. That's why I'm not in the coaching business.
Well, Jason, one reason is that the Bears are in the Hall of Fame game, which is only 2 weeks away. And so they get to start their training camp a week earlier. So it does feel like that they're starting early. But, you know, I saw this stat the other day that I almost forgot because I covered the Bears since Mike Ditka was fired. And since the Lovie Smith era, the Bears have had only one season with a winning record in 11 years. Smith was fired after his 10-6 record, if you remember, in 2012. And that one winning record was in 2018. So there's a lot of pressure, I feel, on head coach Matt Eberflus.
Well, first off, you just mentioned the last 11 years. Like, that's my span as a Bears fan. That last year of Lovie Smith was my first year watching the team. And so they've been over 500 with the winning record twice in my entire time watching the team. And so that's my perception of Bears football. The pressure is on Matt Eberflus. Absolutely. I mean, you could have argued with the coup of coaching candidates this past offseason that Matt Eberflus may not deserve to have a job right now, but he saved his job towards the end of the season. The ownership buys back into him. The team obviously believes in him, and he's going to get another run at this thing. But the pressure is on him because if the Bears season doesn't go how people expect it to go, the finger isn't going to be pointed at Caleb Williams first. It's going to be pointed at either Matt Eberflus or Ryan Poles, or both. And so those are the guys who are going to have to answer for it, especially Matt Eberflus, I feel like, so the pressure's on him. But the Bears finally have their pieces on defense. They have guys who have been in the organization, in the system for 2-3 years now. And so we'll see what they can do. I'm excited to watch it.
You know, what's interesting about the defense, when the Bears opened camp, Ryan Poles was asked about getting another pass rusher, and he said he didn't see it as really a weakness at this point. We'll see if that changes as camp goes on, because right now, outside of Montez Sweat, they're relying on guys like Gervon Dexter Sr. to get some pressure up the middle as the 3 technique. They're relying on DeMarcus Walker as another pass rushing end, or Dominique Robinson. And the two of those guys, the last year and a half, really haven't had that much to talk about. So this is a team this year. If you look at the schedule, Jason, it's really exciting. The defense will have opportunities facing C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Jared Goff. I mean, this is really pretty incredible, the quarterbacks that they're going to be facing this year. So the defense has an opportunity to go out and prove themselves.
Yeah, but then again, that's not that, like, none of those guys who you named are among, like, the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, no Lamar Jackson, no Pat Mahomes, no Josh Allen. I think that the Bears actually have it pretty good schedule-wise this year, and I expect the defense to be a beneficiary of that. Like, they face off against an old Matt Stafford, an Anthony Richardson who played 4 games last year, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence coming off of a regression, Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray coming off playing 2 games, rookie Drake May, and then Jordan Love.
It's either Drake May or Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, and then Jordan Love, whoever the Vikings run out, and then
exactly.
Goff, Purdy, Vikings, Goff, whoever the Seahawks quarterback is going to be, and probably Geno still, and then Packers. Like that's you may not see an easier group of quarterbacks that any single team in the league is playing against this year.
And then let's talk about the offense. They have really brought in some offensive firepower. Keenan Allen is going to join up with DJ Moore. Rome Odunze, they drafted 9th overall, who the Bears actually had number 2 overall on their draft board. They feel like they got a steal with Rome Odunze. And they have DeAndre Swift now, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Khalil Herbert, who is a good blocking running back. And Gerald Everett to go along with Cole Kmet. The only question marks really seem to be on the offensive line yet again.
Yeah. First off, to kind of touch on some of those new additions, I really like the DeAndre Swift ad. I thought that was a good in between when it came to improving the running back room and not spending too much money on a position that's just not worth investing all that much money in. And so to hear how interested the Bears were, and yes, they did invest quite a bit of money in DeAndre Swift, but to hear how interested they were at Saquon Barkley, they could have poured more resources in the running back position. And I'm glad they didn't, because they already have talent there in the form of Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. Rome Odunze is such an exciting addition to this offense. I saw him with my own 2 eyes at the Sugar Bowl, Texas-Washington. He looked fantastic. His ball skills are second to none in that draft class. The separation that he is able to get, and just the catches that he makes in tight windows is something that Caleb Williams is going to fall in love with if he hasn't already. And so I'm excited to watch that. The offensive line is a question mark. Nate Davis, who has an aversion to training camp, was he out there today? No chance. He has an aversion to training camp and practice.
Yes, that does seem to have been an issue. And now, whether or not veterans always need it, that's a whole nother story. I always say, once they put the pads on and the games begin, make the judgments then.
I'm expecting a huge year. I'm expecting, really quick, looking at the offensive line, I mean, Tevin Jenkins, I think, is the closest to a sure thing that you have on that offensive line. Because when he was healthy last year, he was really good. But I'm expecting the biggest year out of Darnell Wright. And I think that the Bears, it's high ceiling, low floor at the tackle positions with Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright had his moments last year, good and bad, but he has all the talent in the world, former top 10 pick, entering his second season. Like when we talked about in our last episode, what the Bears have already done to invest in the quarterback position and to surround Caleb Williams, put him in a good position to win. They started doing that a year before he was even here with Darnell Wright. And so I'm expecting a big year out of Darnell Wright. I'm expecting him to look fresh, for him to look quick. This was something that he was drafted off of, was his ability to be an agile offensive lineman. And so I'm excited to see him make those strides this year. And in turn, I'm expecting a big year out of him.
And I agree with you. Braxton Jones needs to take another step up. Tevin Jenkins is in a contract year, so he could be playing for an extension if he could stay healthy. You mentioned Nate Davis. The real question marks are, who is the starting center? Is it Ryan Bates? Is it Coleman Shelton? So it's really question marks at I think the most important position, and that's at the center position. But it doesn't seem to have the Bears too concerned. What I find interesting, one of the position battles that we are going to see throughout training camp is at running back. So they bring in DeAndre Swift. Khalil Herbert, at one point a year ago, had led the league in yards per carry. And then he was
their best running back last year.
And then he was injured, so he missed time. Roschon Johnson is a Ryan Poles draft pick, and he played well. He got a lot of looks last year. Velus Jones is listed as a wide receiver, but they use him as a gadget back out of the backfield, as well as a return man. Whether or not they keep someone like Velus Jones because of his kickoff returns, and this year with the new rules, will be interesting. Either way you look at it, it does mean that the running backs are competing definitely for a spot on the team. And Jason, earlier before camp started, I was able to catch up with Khalil Herbert, and we talked a lot about the expectations for the team this year. Juice, your vacation's over. That's it. It's reporting week, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Had a good off season, but it's exciting to get back to work and, get in the thick of things. So. Okay,
wait a second. You had a good off season? I think you had a great off season. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, it definitely was great. I became a dad and a whole bunch of other things happened, but it was a great off season, learning experience.
Yeah. Okay. We got to start with being a dad. Okay. Is this first time? Is this your first child?
Yeah. It's my
first. Son?
Yeah. Okay.
Seriously, to have a son that you gets to carry on your name. I mean, it's emotional, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. Just like, especially seeing him, he's 6 months now, but they grow up so fast. You see him start to realize things. We call his name. He looks. And just thinking about like the future, having him out there during camp at the end of a practice and, getting to see him and share that moment with him. So I'm excited.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys on the team in your guys' locker room who have kids. So when you see like DJ Moore and guys like that bringing their kids around, and now that you have your own son, it gives you a whole different perspective on life, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. Just it gives you something, to look forward to at the end of the day. It gives you something, when you're tired, a little bit extra motivation. But it's an experience, I love him. And it's something that I didn't realize I'd be this deep and, I'd feel this way until he came out. So.
Yeah. And then you think you're busy and you think that, right, until you have a child.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy, is it? Now, how hands-on are you? Do you do the diapers?
Yeah, I do everything. My wife takes the night shift, so because I wake up early and I was working out during the off season, so she take the night shift and she held it down. But during the day, I'm pretty much hands-on, doing everything. But yeah, we make a great team, so we've been able to get in the rhythm.
It's a new appreciation for your own parents, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did. They had 3 of us, and I have one right now, and I'm like, man, like I gotta wait a little bit.
I love it. That's really awesome. Congratulations on that. There is so much excitement going into this season with the Bears. How often do you get asked about Caleb Williams?
Pretty much anytime. I'd say, I mean, obviously family and friends, but like anytime I'm out and about and somebody recognizes me, that's the first question. Not even about me, but that's the first question. And, I'm excited for him. It's going to be a great year. He did a great job during OTAs. So I'm excited for him.
So it's interesting because Jalen Johnson was on some interviews last week, and he kind of clarified. He had made a comment about, whoever we draft, we don't want Hollywood in our locker room. And then he clarified it. And he said, listen, there was so much being said about Caleb Williams before. You didn't know what was true. It was crazy, all the things that we kept hearing. So from your impression before of what you had heard about Caleb when he was still playing and to when he showed up for OTAs and mini camps, what's the impression been like for you?
Well, I didn't really have much of an impression before, just because I'm not on social media that much, not reading a bunch of stuff. So anything I saw was on TV, but I mean, it was really just mostly football stuff. But, from what I've experienced with having him, just a great guy, great friend, great teammate. He wants to get everybody involved, try and get to know guys as well as he can. And he just wants to learn. He's soaking it up from a lot of the older guys, asking questions, first one in, last one out type of mentality. So, I'm excited for him.
All right. So give me an example of what he has done to try to get to know you better.
Well, some of the receivers and some of the running backs, we went out to Cali, and we just hung out. That's just an example of something that we do. But, took a bunch of the rookies out, a bunch of guys to dinner sometimes. But stuff like that.
He picked up the tab?
I'm not saying that. I wasn't there for the other thing, but I'm talking about when we were in California.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's talk about Caleb's football skills as a quarterback. Tell me about this touch that we are hearing about, his ability to change speeds on his throws with the football, and his ability to not only put it on a dime, but know when he needs to fire it and when he needs to really kind of give it a little bit more finesse. Talk about what you've seen, what he's been able to do.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes into, I feel like, the kind of player he is. You could tell it off rip, off bat, as fast as he goes through progressions, and stuff that, like, you know, a rookie coming in, they're not doing. So just being able to see that early on, and being able to fit the ball in tight windows and make all the throws, are some of the things that we saw early on, and we're like, okay, like, yeah, we got something here. So just those kind of different things that he does that, you know, guys don't do early on that you usually see.
All right. So you've been in Chicago now is this going into your fourth year,
Yep.
fourth season?
Yep.
All right. Chicago can be tough, but Chicago's not New York. It's not Philadelphia. The fans love their team. The media can be tough, but again, it's not Philadelphia. It's not New York. How do you think Caleb is geared to being able to handle such a big job? And I mean, the quarterback of the Bears is the number one sports position in Chicago.
Yeah, I think he embraces it. That's kind of his personality. You know, he the moment's never too big. So I think he'll handle it really well and fit right in with this city, man. He loves it. I feel like just the way he carries himself and goes about, and he interacts with fans and stuff on Twitter. So you could tell he's real in it, and, you know, wants to get to know everybody and vice versa, let the city know him as well.
And genuine? You think he's genuine?
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So you guys not only have Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze. I mean, did you guys kind of just hit the jackpot in the draft this year? The talent that is on the offensive side of the ball is unbelievable. Yeah,
100%. I mean, Rome, he is he can track that ball, man. He did some things during OTAs, and I'm like, okay. But no, we definitely did. You know, Poles did a great job. You know, the front office did a great job of acquiring talent this offseason, and you know, he's going to be a big help to us as well.
Okay, so let's talk about your new offensive coordinator. What can we expect? Like, what was your impression when you got the playbook from Shane Waldron? What's different? What are we going to see different?
I can't get too much into that, but
you sworn to secrecy.
Can't give away all the secrets, you know. But I definitely just feel like we're gonna have a lot more explosives. Some that he did a lot in Seattle. They had a lot of big plays and guys making a lot of big plays down the field and then run after catch. But just a lot more explosives in the offense, and you know, especially with who we got on the offense and Caleb back there, we'll be able to dial some things up. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right. How tough is the playbook, though?
I mean, this is my third one now, so it's honestly it's how you learn, and I've developed a way of how to learn a playbook really fast. So it's not too tough for me, but you know, coming in it could be daunting, but I feel like a lot of the older guys, like you learn how to learn playbooks or equate them to previous systems you were in. So,
you know, what's your trick? What do you mean you've developed a technique for learning a playbook?
I don't really know. Like, the way I take notes and the way I see the plays and write them down, like I hear what speaks to me, and I look at what talks to me, and I learn that first, and then I you know, eventually as time goes on, you learn the rest of the play one by one in each different position. So
you mentioned some of the veterans that you guys have now in the locker room. Keenan Allen. Mm-hmm. When you heard that you guys got Keenan Allen, what was your reaction?
I mean, that's a big time player right there. He's a vet's vet. Just seeing the way he works, this is the way he you know, does everything he does. You know, I try and take note of you know, way he prepares for practice, things like that you wouldn't think of. Just try and take note of and add him to your game. But no, he's great.
So if the wide receiver room isn't crowded enough, the running back room is pretty crowded. I'm not sure, Khalil, who's going to be there. Were you concerned when DeAndre Swift came along? And I mean, you guys have a really crowded running back room now.
Yeah. No, not at all. I mean, he adds a great talent to the room as well. But, we got a bunch of guys in the room. Like you said, we got a bunch of guys that are talented in the running back room, receiver room, and that kind of just elevates the whole team. You got guys pushing each other to be better and be great. One guy makes a play, the other guy wants to make a play, and that helps everybody out on the team on come Sunday. So that's kind of our mentality and the way we attack things, just pushing each other and, making each other be better.
All right, there's got to be some kind of competition going on for touches. I mean, there are so many explosive players on offense. Who's going to get the ball? I mean, you guys are all going to get the ball. No one.
That's what they pay the coaches for. They'll figure a way out to. Shane will figure a way out to get that done. And, I feel like we got the guys on the team that, as long as we're winning and, everybody's making plays that, touches aren't going to be a main concern. So
there's so much versatility. You have running backs that are receivers, running backs that are also blockers. You have tight ends that are blocking, tight ends that are receiving. You have receivers who are blocking. It's crazy. The versatility that Ryan Poles has put together on offense, I think, is going to make defenses very confused, not knowing who is going to be doing what, which is a good thing for you guys, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you got guys that you can plug and play, and there's no drop off. If not, it's going to be better. It's kind of hard to defend, especially guys coming in and out. And, defenses get tired. They're not subbing as much as offenses. And being able to do that and keep the pace of the game going. And, yeah, it's going to be tough. So
I have to ask you about Coach Eberflus, because last year you guys went through a really tough first half. There was just so much going on that was out of your control. People were wondering if Flus was the right guy, and you guys didn't fly the coop, so to speak, and it could have been chaotic, and it didn't seem like it was chaotic. And Ryan Poles said that Coach Flus really righted the ship. What is it about Coach Flus that you guys like or appreciate or have rallied around, and why?
I'd say really just the person he is. He gets to know his players, and he has conversations with everybody when he can. But just the person he is, especially during the offseason OTAs, he encourages guys to get to know one another, puts us in groups in skull sessions just to learn your teammates, learn different coaches, things like that. And I feel like guys really rallied around that because you want to win for a guy like that, and just the way he goes about handling his business each day in practice, always energy's high, always giving gratitude. So those kind of people, you want to play for it, and, guys rally around it. So
I'm not going to lie. We've seen the video of stretching when he walks around. He's the nickname guy.
Yeah.
He comes up with a nickname for everybody. Yeah. I'm sure he knows you already have a nickname. Has he given you a new nickname?
I mean, it's just my last name, Herbs, Herbert, Herbo. Everybody kind of runs with that. So I'm either Juice, Herb, Herbo, Khalil. I answer to them all. So
how did you get your nickname Juice?
I got it in high school. Just the energy I have, always upbeat, always going, just trying to get everybody going. And yeah, it just stuck. So.
Okay, one of the things I did not ask you about was Hard Knocks. Don't know if you watched Hard Knocks before. Don't know, if the cameras are even have reached out to guys before. How does it work with you guys? You show up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the cameras are just going to be there.
I have no idea. So I'll let you know once I find out, but I have no idea. I've talked to a couple guys that I played with that have done it. And they just said that there's cameras everywhere in the rooms and stuff, but that's pretty much it. So
is it a be careful because there's cameras everywhere?
I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. I know that they put them in every position room, I believe, but other than that, we'll see.
Okay, I'm going to make you the producer right now of Hard Knocks. What player on the team has a great story that has not been told, or has something that is just incredible about them that people don't know, that you would say, hey, this is who they should talk about because this guy's this?
And put me on the spot. I'd probably say our fullback, Kerry Blasingame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say him.
Why? What's his story?
That's what you got to find out. You got to watch and see. You got to watch and see. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh,
But
maybe we are going to see
guy,
something.
a leader on the team. He does everything for us. You never hear his name getting called for touchdowns and stuff like that. But he always gets the job done. Every special team. So I just say that. Yeah.
Okay, just a couple more questions. Special teams, the kickoff this year rule, crazy. We could see some crazy stuff. I know you returned kicks the first couple of years. Are there any plans for you to do it? What are you expecting on special teams with the kickoff returns and with the new rules?
I mean, I feel like there's definitely going to be a lot more touchdowns. I don't know what plans they have for me. I'll do whatever they ask of me. But there definitely will be a lot more touchdowns. It's a hard play to defend. We've watched a lot of film on the XFL, and it's hard to stop. So it'll be fun. It'll definitely add some juice to different games and make things, hype things up a little bit. So.
Is there anything special about the Bears, Devin Hester, going into the Hall of Fame that you guys or the team or even special teams talks about? Because it is extremely rare to have a returner in the Hall of Fame. And the fact that he's going in next month is pretty crazy. Do you guys watch a video of him? Do you ever talk about it?
I mean, we definitely talk about it, especially starting off OTAs or starting off camp. Coach Hightower, he does a great job of just, remembering the Bears great with special teams, whether it's Hester or anybody else that's come through, just, always playing old clips of, return kicks, punts, blocked punts, blocked kicks, big time field goals, just to, show, the history of the Bears and, that special teams is really big in this city and, guys value it a lot. So.
All right. So do you have any new touchdown celebrations this year? You're gonna rock the baby? You're gonna burp the baby? You're gonna do anything like that?
I definitely got to do that one. I got a couple other ones that I plan. I usually go on with one a week in my head, and then, if I score twice, then I just do the same thing or celebrate with my teammates. But I definitely got to do that one for my son.
And what's your son's name? We haven't even said his son. Caden, that's fantastic. Really, really crazy division this year. It might be the second most competitive division in football. What is fair expectations from the Chicago Bears this year, considering rookie quarterback, new offense?
It doesn't matter about any of that. Our expectation is to win the division point blank. That's our expectation every year. And that's what we're setting out to do. Division, conference, and Super Bowl. Those are the only things in our mind. So
it's been great to talk to you. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on your son. Time to put on the pads, time to get to camp and start fulfilling some pretty high expectations that you guys have, as well as your fans as well. Khalil, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.
Really cool for Khalil Herbert to join us. And Jason, it was really cool to see, and for those of us who are watching us on YouTube, to see Khalil Herbert's face light up when he talked about being a new father was really, really cool. What I found interesting was when I asked him if he was worried going into camp because it is such a crowded running back room, he shrugged it off like, no, I'm not worried at all. I sure hope that he's not a surprise cut.
I don't think he will be whatsoever. I think that he is the second most safe in that backfield. I don't think that he is going to be a surprise cut by any means. I think that when he was healthy last year, he was the best running back that they had on the roster. His big playability is something that the Bears cannot ignore. And if he's confident, then I'm feeling good in him. A little quick aside, I'm upset I couldn't make the interview. I got called to work on Monday and do a cover a track introduction for the new track coach at K-State, and was really upset because we are really making the Bears running back room a true friend, a collective friend of the podcast.
Yes.
We had Roschon Johnson a few months ago, and we had Khalil Herbert. I think DeAndre Swift will be knocking at our door pretty soon. And if Travis Homer finds his way on the roster or practice squad, he is more than welcome on our show anytime he's free. And so I'm glad to hear that the Khalil Herbert podcast or episode interview went great. And I've been such a big fan of his game dating back to his time at Virginia Tech. And you know what I learned when I was talking to some of my colleagues about this podcast? Khalil Herbert is a former Kansas Jayhawk. He spent 4 years at KU and was part of a great backfield with Puka Williams.
I did not realize that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, let's get to your predictions.
Ooh. Well, the tough thing about this time of the year is that we're in a holding pattern, as I've come to use that term a lot, when it comes to sports. And that means that actually right now, as we record this episode, no sports are going on. And it's always my least favorite time of the year because Major League Baseball is during its all-star break, and the Olympics are still a couple of weeks away, and every other sport is in its off-season. But that means that I have plenty of time to think about what I think is going to happen. And so my first thing is, I think that Notre Dame is criminally overrated in football this year. I don't see it with this roster whatsoever. They're playing a hard schedule. They open up on the road in College Station against Texas A&M in what EA Sports claims to be the toughest road environment. I don't agree with that, but Kyle Field, opening night, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, I don't think the Irish are going to win that game. They also play Florida State. That game's at home. But at that point of the season in November, I think that the Irish, they might be out of playoff contention. And so my first prediction, Notre Dame, I'm sorry, the first year of the revamped playoff is not for you. They are already disadvantaged by this system because they cannot win a conference championship, and so they cannot host a home playoff game in that opening round. And so I don't think Notre Dame makes a playoff this year.
I'm actually really glad you brought up college football because I was ripped this week on ESPN 1000 when I was filling in on Waddle and Sylvie when one of our producers, Shay Norling, took the day off for the release of the college football video game, which I thought was the craziest excuse to take a day off. And I thought it was a wasted day off. I called him the L word. I apologized the next day. He called in and he reminded me that you, Jason, put your handle out there and invited people to play you in the new college football game. And so how could I call my colleague Shay Norling a loser when my own son was basically doing the same thing?
I'm offended. I was. I'll be honest. I have no problem saying that. On Monday, I was working early enough, and I got everything I needed, and I looked at the clock, and there were 3.5 hours until that game came out, and I obviously already had it pre-downloaded and stuff, so I had been waiting for 3 o'clock, and I knew when I got asked to work the night before that game came out, I knew I was going to be done working before it came out. There's no chance I was still going to have work left on the table by 3 p.m. Central Time, and so I'm offended. Honestly, slightly offended. I know you're not the biggest video game person, like you don't get it. It's fine. I know. But this moment for us college football fans and those of us who grew up playing the game, this is bigger than honestly than taking a day off. And so,
okay. All right. Can we move on? Let's move on to your next prediction. I'm done talking video games.
All right. We talked Modest Puzelis last episode. And since then, he has exploded in the summer league. And honestly, I'm sitting there like this watching it because everything I was gushing about him when he got drafted, I spoke very highly of him on the podcast, and the early returns on him are very strong. And so I am ready to say that he will be first team all rookie this year. I love what I've seen in the summer league. His shot selection is questionable so far, but that's because he's the first option on the summer league team, as the highest draft pick usually is. And so maybe a sign of things to come in a year or two in Chicago with him being the number one option. And hopefully this year, behind guys aside guys like Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic, he'll learn how to take good shots and get that shooting percentage up. Everything else looks great. This kid affects winning on both sides of the court. His size, his love for the game. I am so happy with how good he has looked. And so my second prediction is that he's going to make the all-rookie team.
And this is a good time for us to plug our last episode a couple of weeks ago. Go check it out. We talked with Matas Buzelis's high school coach from Brewster Academy. And you definitely want to check that out, because if you didn't know who he was before the Bulls drafted him, you'll learn a lot about him from watching or listening to that past podcast. And Jason, your third prediction.
Okay, I'm going to take everybody by surprise right now, and I'm actually going to do a soccer prediction. Big news happened this week with the United States men's national team firing Greg Berhalter. It was a long time coming. I mean, if you watched the Copa America tournament, the U.S. looked pathetic, and some of the decisions that were made in game, both by players and by Berhalter, the coach, were so embarrassing for a host team in a major international tournament. Change was overdue. Now, with my third prediction, unfortunately, I think that we are set up to be disappointed. I'm not ready to predict who the coach will be, and I'm not knowledgeable enough on the candidates for the job. But what I do know is some of the top candidates that the United States and the fans wanted: Jurgen Klopp, who just left Liverpool, Louisville. See, I'm so American sports oriented. And so some of the other names, Thomas Tuchel, who just left, got fired by Bayern Munich, but he would be a great ad. I think that we're going to be disappointed. I think that they're going to hire a standing MLS coach, which is a step back when you have every player in the starting 11 of the national team for the first time in the history of United States soccer plays overseas in a top 6 league in Europe. And so you cannot have an MLS guy at the helm. All respect to Chicago Fire and Austin FC and all the great people at the MLS, but it's just a completely different ballgame than European soccer. And if the U.S. wants to compete to win when they host the World Cup in 2 years, they can't have an MLS guy at the helm. But that's my prediction, is that we're going to be disappointed.
Got it. All right. I am not doing final thoughts because we went overtime today with our Khalil Herbert interview. So I want to thank Khalil Herbert for joining us. You can check him out at Juice Herbert on social media, although he did say he's really not on social media that much at all. So also thanks to our producer, Jack McGrath over at ESPN Chicago, who gets our podcast up on the audio side, in which you can always find it on the ESPN Chicago app or on Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your audio. And don't forget to check us out here on YouTube as well, because our YouTube page continues to grow and we are back in our 6th season, better than ever. Right, Jace?
Yeah, Mom. Podcast every other week at least. I mean, hell, if we have the time and the reason to do more podcasts, I'm there for it. And I know that you'll be there for it with how excited we are for football season to start. And yeah, like my mom said, anywhere that you guys get your audio, you can find us. Please like, rate, subscribe. Find us on Twitter at TSAHS Pod, at Peggy Kaczynski, at ESPN Peggy, and at Jason Kinander. Helps out the podcast, helps out our own stuff. We appreciate our listeners at home. Mom, hope to meet with you again soon for a show. And football season will be a little closer the next time we talk, which is so exciting.
I know. In the meantime, you can listen to our post-game coverage on ESPN 1000 or ESPN Chicago app. We carry all of the Chicago Bears preseason and regular season games. We'll find out if it's any postseason games this year as well. In the meantime, for Jason, I'm Peggy. Thank you all for joining us this episode. Jason, take care, buddy.
Thanks, Mom. You too.